India, home of one.
Hello. Hello, good morning. Yeah, I can hear you loud. Good morning. Thank you so much for your enthusiasm, and I really so encouraged to see so many students on time. I really apologize for this short space. Actually, we planned for 350 students, but we got registrations more than 500, but still we are trying our best to do. So please settle down. We will be starting the program probably in 5 minutes. We are just waiting for our Honorable Vice Chancellor. Actually is in the other event, which is planned much earlier. So we are just waiting for him. Maybe probably in 5 minutes we will start this program. So I request all the volunteers, coordinators to please help the students to settle down quickly. This is a wonderful program, G20 University Connect, and we are so delighted to have all the dignitaries already arrived on time. So we'll be having a wonderful sessions this morning. So I once again request all the students to settle down quickly. And in the meantime, we will be presenting our Andhra University. You know the students of this university. This is almost the 100-year-old university, and we have a wonderful alumni. And in the due time, we'll be playing a short video on this university. Just enjoy it.
కట్టమంచి కనుసన్నలలో అంకురించిన ఆలయం సర్వేపల్లి సారథ్యంలో శోభలీనిన మహాలయం మనమందరం విద్య నేర్చిన విశ్వవిద్యాలయం ఆంధ్ర విశ్వవిద్యాలయం స్వాగతం
శుభ స్వాగతం శుభ స్వాగతం చదువుల సకుదేవాలయం తెలుపుతోంది శుభ స్వాగతం
దేశ దేశాల్లో ఖ్యాతి గడించిన పూర్వ విద్యార్థులందరికీ ఘనఘనాది ఘనకర స్వాగతం శుభ శుభాది శుభకర స్వాగతం ఘనఘనాది ఘనకర స్వాగతం శుభ శుభాది శుభకర స్వాగతం నీడనిచ్చిన చెట్టు చేమలు చిరునవ్వులతో పిలుస్తూ ఉన్నాయి
నిద్రించిన మన వసతి గృహాలు వాత్సల్య
జాడకెక్కిన ధీర నేతలు మీలో ఎందరో
న్యాయమూర్తులు శాస్త్రవేత్తలు వాణిజ్యంలో ధీవరులెందరో
క్రీడల కీర్తి పతక విజేతలు చిత్ర పరిశ్రమ నవ విధాతలు
రంగస్థలమున అలరిన మాన్యులు అన్ని రంగముల అగ్రగణ్యులు
ప్రతి ఒక్కరిని తన ఒడిలో పెంచిన తల్లి ఆంధ్ర విశ్వవిద్యాలయం
ఘన చరితలు గల ఈ ప్రాంగణమున పూర్వ విద్యార్థుల ఓట మన పూర్వ జన్మ సుకృతం
ధన్య చరితులుగా అందుకోండి మీరే ఘన ఘనాది ఘనకర స్వాగతం శుభ శుభాది శుభకర స్వాగతం రండి కదలి రండి పాఠములు నేర్పిన ఈ గురుకులాన మీ గెలుపు పాఠములు పంచగా రండి రండి కలసి రండి మార్గములు చూపిన మహాలయానికి మన వంతు రుణము తీర్చుదాము రండి రండి తరలి రండి మన విశ్వవిద్యాలయానికి విశ్వవిఖ్యాతము చేద్దాం రండి. ఆది శుభకర స్వాగతం ఘనఘనాది ఘనకర స్వాగతం శుభ శుభాది 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 శుభకర స్వాగతం ఘనఘనాది ఘనకర స్వాగతం.
Wonderful. We are proud of our university. So we are delighted to have this morning this program of G20 University Connect, engaging young minds. Students, I believe you all received your kits, and you will find hats inside. So can you just bring out your hats once? Yeah, that would be a beautiful scene. So keep those hats ready. I'm very sorry, actually we organized this program for 350 students, but there are more than 450, 500 students, so few people missed hats. So those who have come not on time, before time, have received all the kits. So you can just wear your hats. Yeah, you look so beautiful. I'm very happy to let you all know that we have many pre-events organized on this prestigious G20 University Connect, different competition like quiz, essay competition, elocution, etc. And there was huge response. More than 500 students from various colleges participated. Just look at those clippings once before we start the program.
I request everyone to welcome our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Sri PVC Prasad Reddy Garu.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Honorable Vice Chancellor has just arrived. Let's give a standing ovation with a big round of applause to invite our Honorable Vice Chancellor to the occasion. Please be seated. I acknowledge the presence of various dignitaries of the dais this morning. So before we go any further, we'll be watching a wonderful theme of G20 Indian Presidency 2023 official video, the launch of the logo.
India, home of 1.3 billion people, is a confluence of religions, traditions, and customs. A thriving global center of technology and the world's largest democracy. As one of the oldest civilizations in the world with a rich cultural heritage and diversity, and as the fifth largest economy in the world, India is proud to assume the presidency of G20. As the country blooms into a new era, we look to another poignant symbol for humanity to emerge victorious from its challenges. Lotus, the national flower of India, representing our culture, history, and heritage. A poignant symbol for humanity to emerge victorious from its challenges. And the inspiration for India's G20 logo design. The design, rendered in saffron, white, green, and blue, is drawn from the national flag of India. The 7 petals in the logo signify the 7 seas and the coming together of 7 continents at G20 India 2023. Sitting above the lotus is a representation of the earth, reflecting India's pro-planet approach to life and seeing the world as one family. From this, we derive the theme for G20 India 2023, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, one earth, one family, one future. A theme that brings the G20's focus on shared global growth, while being in harmony with nature. G20 India 2023. One earth, one family, one future.
Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam.
Vasudhaiva Kutumbam, one earth, one family, one future. I'll take the privilege to invite the dignitaries on the dais this morning. First of all, I request Dr. G. Veerraju, HOD Political Science, Andhra University, the man behind the whole scenes today, the coordinator of this G20 University Connect, Engaging Young Minds at Andhra University, the lecture series. Let me take the privilege to invite some of the speakers of this morning to give the special remarks. Professor Sri Ram Murthy Garu, former Principal, College of Arts and Commerce, Andhra University, to come out to the dais, please. I also request Professor A. Subramaniam Raju Ji, Dean International Relations, Pondicherry University, to please come out to the dais and occupy your seat, please. I also request the representative, actually the coordinator of this whole event and who has been in constant touch with us, the research and information systems for developing countries, Mr. Ali, also to come on to the dais, please. Thank you. I take great honor and privilege to invite the keynote speaker of the day, Ambassador Gitesh Sharma ji, former diplomat, Government of India, Special Officer, International Corporations, Government of Andhra Pradesh, to please come on to the dais and grace the occasion. And now, the visionary of this great university, the man who leads in front, Professor PVGD Prasad Reddy Garu, the Honorable Vice Chancellor, to please grace the dais, the G20 University Connect, engaging young minds. Thank you so much, sir. In spite of all the busy schedules, you could make it. And we are waiting for Sri N. Sanjay, Senior IPS Officer, CID Chief of Andhra Pradesh. He will be joining us very, very shortly. He is engaged in a meeting. He started already. So, now, without any further delay, may I humbly request all the dignitaries to please join for lighting the lamp to initiate the program. Shall we all stand on our feet with reverence and respect? Thank you, sir. Please be seated. I repeat once again that we actually organized this program for about 3 to 350 students, but we are amazed with the great response from the student community. We received more than 500 registrations. A big round of applause for all the students who are present this morning. So start the proceedings of the day. I request the coordinator of this event, Dr. G. Veerraju Garu, HOD Political Science, Andhra University. In fact, he is the man who has been working relentlessly for the last 2 weeks. And today we see the great success here. And this is the man. A big round of applause. I invite Dr. Veerraju to give his opening remarks.
The president of today's program, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Sri PVJD Prasad Reddy Garu, and today's chief guest, Ambassador Gitesh Sharma Garu, and a senior teacher, respected teacher, Sri Ram Murthy Garu, Subramanyam Raju Garu, and Mr. Ali, many dignitaries of the dais, principals of the various colleges, deans, heads of the departments, faculty members, and my dear students. A very good morning to you all. It's my privilege and great pleasure to present opening remarks for today's University Connect program as part of G20 lecture series under India's presidency. I would like to welcome you, every one of you, for this great occasion. I mention a special mention for the students who have participated from various colleges across the city. It is a proud moment for all Indians that our India is chairing G20 this year. And we are all happy that our Andhra University is hosting the G20 University Connect lecture series program today. Sir, I invite Sanjay sir, additional DGP of our state, CAD. Sir, please. Our university is hosting this G20 University Connect program to ignite and inspire young minds. If anything happens in a scale in Andhra Pradesh, it can happen at Andhra University only. Be it Honorable Prime Minister Modi's visit, Global Investors Summit early this month, and Infrastructure Summit end of this month, now the University Connect here. At present, a true teacher is heading this university who has great sense of understanding, under whose leadership the phenomenal transformation is being taken place in many spheres, including A-Hub, or we can call it as startup, promoting E-Hub or startup ecosystems. And his untiring efforts and persistence make this university a flagship institution. And I thank our Honorable Vice Chancellor for establishing a wonderful academic culture and student-centric administration. I thank my heartfelt thanks to Honorable Vice Chancellor for entrusting the responsibility of organizing this University Connect lecture series. And I also thank Professor Ali from RIS, Research and Information Systems for Developing Countries, for choosing Andhra University to conduct this great occasion. Let us give a applause. I would like to thank Professor James Stephen, who has shouldered the responsibility to make my job easy. Today I thank our ambassador. I thank our ambassador, and we feel honored, Gitesh Sharma, to be here with us. And I thank Mr. Sanjay Sir, additional DG, to make his presence here and make us happy. And my special thanks goes to our senior faculty members, Sriram Murthy Garu and Subramanyam Raj Garu. And there was a great response from the students, and we have many events, pre-event activities. I appreciate the spirit of all the participants who have participated actively, and I congratulate the winners in this occasion. And I also want to appreciate the spirit and commitment of my students, of strong team, and who are the many dignitaries of the dais here. I thank each and everyone for making this event a grand success. Thank you one and all.
Thank you, Dr. Veerraju. People speak from the lips, but always Dr. Veerraju, I see him, he speaks from the heart. So a big round of applause to your teacher, who has been working so hard for the last 2 weeks. Thank you. This is the time to listen to the welcome address. It's a great honor and privilege to invite Professor PVGD Prasad Reddy Garu, the Honorable Vice Chancellor of this university, who brought the great paradigm shift for the last 3 years. Thank you so much, sir, for taking time.
So good morning, my dear young minds. Well, to begin with, I extend a very warm welcome to all these wonderful personalities. And we have in our midst a wonderful officer, an ambassador for that matter, Mr. Gitesh ji. Warm welcome to the precincts of Andhra University. Let me also extend a very, very warm welcome to the reason, why I'm saying very, very, yeah? He is a proud alumnus of Andhra University. Studied here, did his graduation. Very recently, just 2 years back, when the whole world is drowning in, that COVID kind of a pandemic, he is one man, who wants to enhance his academic qualification, upgrade his qualification after 30 plus years of service, again rejoined the university in the evening college for an MTech program in computer science. First attempt could clear all the subjects. Now sitting here among us, the CID chief, Must be careful, huh? Mr. Sanjay. Mr. Sanjay is a proud student of Andhra University. And, we have a wonderful speaker in the midst of all of us who served this university in various capacities. And, he was former principal of College of Arts and Commerce, a wonderful college, constituent college of Andhra University. And he is a great economist. And he is one man, who is always sought at Delhi for, conducting of the civil servants interviews and all, Professor Sriram Murthy ji. I am introduced to equally wonderful person from Pondicherry University, Professor Subramanya Raju garu. Extend a warm welcome to you, sir. I also see Anang, looking like a movie hero. See, a lot of vibe from there. Ali, who is in fact, responsible for this connect to happen. He represents research and information systems. And, the man of today otherwise is Professor V. Raju. Right now he is heading the Politics and Public Administration Department. And I see the presence of all the principals over here. I see Principal of Law College, Vijayalakshmi garu, Principal of Education College, Shavasri garu, and I see all senior professors, my colleagues from various departments. Some EC members are also there, and more importantly, the young minds. Right? So because, what is the theme of today? Engaging young minds. I just go back to one very famous proverb called, youth is that spark that requires no ignition. సరిగ్గా తెలుగులో చెప్పాలంటే యువత నిప్పు రవ్వ వెలిగించడానికి అక్కర్లేదు అగ్గి పుల్ల అన్నట్టు. So I could sense that kind of, pop and energy, that vibe, and, that mozzo in this hall. And you see, when people are really struggling to get, 100, 150 participants for such a wonderful meets and all these days, and Veeraju, in fact, he said that he would get about 250 participants. I was, in fact, asking him which hall does he need for engaging this kind of an activity in the campus of the university. He said that a hall that can accommodate 350 will do. So I sanctioned this hall. Now I see more than 500 students because, all these young girls sitting over here, many young boys are standing over here. More than 500, not a small thing. And I was also told for the competitive activities that were conducted, taken up by this department the other day, more than 800 students participated in various activities. So that way, I'm happy that the students who are representing the university, from the university and from its affiliated colleges, are taking ownership of the activity of G20, because, the country for the first time got the presidency that way to organize this so-called G20 activity. You all know because, you have participated in G20, which is nothing but a group of 20. Group of 20, very crucial block that way, a crucial block of nations, which was formed in the late 90s. For what reason? The reason is to respond to the global economic vagaries. Most of the times, jocularly also people would say that somewhere some big country would catch cold, and here somewhere in India people will start sneezing. Right? So that's how, things go. The global, economic vagaries, the economic crisis, how to address this kind of a global economic crisis so that, we can facilitate trade among all of them. And you can have, some kind of wonderful economic, policies to coordinate the countries. How to address all these things. It all started with only 7 nations, and, it went up to 20 in the sense, 19, powerful nations along with the European Union, jointly. They are, in fact, the intergovernmental, forum, which is, in fact, started And every year one particular country, because there is nothing like a permanent chair kind of a thing. There is no a permanent secretary or permanent members. This is something really beautiful, where we have all these countries, big countries, and one country from each particular block would get an opportunity, in fact, to host this kind of an activity. Like that, it goes. It's the way forward. It is always a circular thing. And this year, fortunately, India got the opportunity to host this activity. And this is in fact a part of that activity, where across the India several such meetings are being organized, in fact, to connect all these young people, because the future belongs to you, right? The future belongs to you. You are the people who are going to be the future CEOs, future industrialists, future economists, future financial experts, and you are going to get into the future, future musicians, future dancers, future artists. You name anything related to future, that future belongs to young people, right? So that way, thanks to Government of India, thanks to Ministry of Economic Affairs, because choosing more than 100 universities in India, trying to organize, this kind of a meeting, and trying to call the students to participate in the activity, and then, trying to promote, what exactly is the requirement for you to, in fact, from here move into that future. You see, the philosophy of India. Not only now, go back to our scriptures, because, we in fact, adopt our values. We adopt our values from, so-called popular epics. The country as a whole, we keep talking about Ramayana. We keep talking about Ramayana. We keep talking about Gita. We say that, we are so happy because, the India is blessed with, Ramayana and Gita, and where in Ramayana, Prabhu Ram, after winning over the battle, after winning over the war at Lanka, is about to return back. And then Vibhishana says that, Prabhu Ram, now that you are victorious at Lanka, you have every right to stake a claim. Rama turns back to say that, Janani Janma Bhumitsya Swargadapi Gariyase. That means, my land, my country is so beautiful that it cannot be equated even to heaven, that some humans may look at it. That's the beauty of India. That's the beauty of India. Even if you look at Gita also, where, Lord Krishna would always say that, you just to be righteous. You have that integrity. No matter whether somebody is looking at you, somebody is acknowledging you, somebody is happy with you or not, do what is right. Even though, whether you are being observed or not being observed, do what is right yours. Let integrity be the way of your life. Once that you cultivate that kind of a habit, that integrity is a way of your life, you emerge strong. You become a very strong person. And once you are a strong person, the people around you get, that kind of influence. They would be looking at you, yeah, this person getting stronger. Why not I try to follow him, a role model? Then the group gets strong. The state gets strong. The country gets strong. And thus you also become strong at the universe. This is the only country, which in fact, those days also had a belief that we are not alone. We are a part of the whole, the life that has been created and that's been, in fact, supported from the cosmos. Just because, all of us are sitting here comfortably, all these people are sitting here, so many activities are happening, does it mean to say that, we are doing all these things? The whole earth is now spinning. How is it spinning? How are the things happening? That means so many things from so many places are controlling us. That means, you are not alone at all. Either you survive or you simply perish. As a whole, an individual cannot survive. There is a saying that, you try to kill all the insects. The whole life on the planet will cease in a year's time. You try to kill all the trees and all the insects, the whole humanity, the so-called, proud humans, They don't live even for 48 hours. So everything is important. That's the reason why, our elders those days, they believed in, Vasudaika Kutumbam. One planet, one family, and today, one future. I have seen that over here after coming down to this place. One family, one planet, one family, and one future. Because, you might think that this girl is different, that girl is different, this boy is different, he is different, she is different, she is different. Yes, we are all different. We all have got some kind of identity with our own bodies. Yes, no doubt. Somebody is born here, somebody is born elsewhere, somebody is born elsewhere. Somebody has a different custom, somebody has a different tradition, somebody has a different taste, somebody has a different hairstyle, somebody is into a different age group, somebody believes in a different kind of a God, somebody has his own kind of identity, but you breathe in the same air, right? You breathe in the same air. That means you are all connected. We are all connected by the same kind of energy that is being thrown somewhere from the cosmos. That was in fact recognized by our so-called elders those days, and hence they started believing that we rise, we try to live as a whole, or we may not live at all. So today, when India is given an opportunity, in fact, to host this activity of being a presidency, organize this particular G20, all these people. You get all the people from America, from UK, from Canada, from Australia, you name all these big nations. What are the nations that are there in G20? All these, powerful nations which are contributing almost to 85% of the trade, GDP, happening across the globe. Almost 65% of the trade and almost 2/3 of the population as such, out of the 7.3 billion, almost 2/3 are there in this, G20. And now, all these countries represent the members who are representing the countries will make a visit to India. We are, in fact, trying to show them the taste of India. We are trying to showcase the heritage and culture of India. What a pride to us, because, now, all these days, several decades back, as such, not only just decades back, a week back, in fact, I saw a video clip that's been, in fact, rotated across all the various public. A small talk given by none other than, the founder of Infosys, Narayana Murthy. And he was, in fact, saying that, this is the right time because, India, in fact, started seeing success. Till recently, till a decade back, the rest of the world were looking at India as a filthy and dirty country. Because everywhere dust. We simply just throw things just like that. In spite of that beach cleaning activity, it is taking place. When you go to the beach and taste that particular ice cream, that plastic cover, simply we throw it over there. So like that, a lot of dirt is getting accumulated. And people do not, in fact, look at it because, lack of education or poverty or, that kind of awareness or consciousness is otherwise missing. So whole world otherwise was looking at India as a country with a lot of dirt and, the filth and all. But look at last 25 years. 25 years. Youth from country, because of their, the theoretical, mathematical kind of a skill. Because, all these days, we do not have that kind of a richness to do things practically. And even in the classroom also, the teacher, when he writes the equation, he says that artificially, try to imagine and etc. Kind of a ability that made us, in fact, think, and that logical, kind of a drive we got it. And this logic, in fact, got equated to what is otherwise today people are calling it as programming. And thus, our youth could, in fact, travel across India to all other countries and prove to the countries that Indian youth are economy creators for the globe. That's the pride. Same point, in fact, none other than Narayana Murthy ji was quoting that, for the first time across the globe, India started gaining momentum and respect, and it is the duty of the youngsters, in fact, to consolidate this kind of a feeling. Consolidate, because reason is, these days some students, not at least the students of Andhra University and its affiliated college, somewhere, some people are there. They are, in fact, going out of bounds and losing that kind of a value system. Even in IT companies, they say that people are working for multiple companies, 2-3 jobs. And people are moonlighting. No. These things you are not supposed to do, because when the country, in fact, is progressing and you are supposed to, in fact, do a marathon running, it is your duty. People like us, we crossed our ages. We are into sidelines now. We can only support you, but you are the people who are supposed to run. Right? So you should be really, really responsible, because this is the time. This is the time that, when the whole world is looking at us. Each one of you youngsters, because you are the future leaders, future CEOs, future lawyers, future doctors, because, future economists. Probably I think you will be guiding several companies, etc. People also look at you as role models. Parents are, in fact, they have all the hopes on you, because you are only just 1 or 2 kids in the family. Unlike us, we were 6, 7, 8 those days back at our homes. But whereas you are only one, all the hopes are there on you only. But here, one very, very important thing. It has become very conventional these days. Very, very conventional. I keep hearing even from my teachers also. Of course, I don't subscribe to their views. Reason being, I have a lot of hopes. And always I am proved to be correct. The convention is, every generation is trying to underestimate the potential of the next generation, which happened at our generation also. Grandparents jokingly used to say that, come on, you are losing all the values, what do you do and all. But we did something. Everybody did something. Today, look at, the technological development, all these things. For example, 35 years back, when I was a student of computer science, I did not see even computer. We never had a TV. After getting the job done, I have seen a TV called Andhra with only 1 channel. But today, you are connected. You are here. You see, somebody is very busy. Even though I am talking, he is swiping from there. So like that, people are busy. People are connected. People are, always connected virtually. So many channels, so many TVs, all these things, you have become very busy. So hence, I have a doubt that whether you would prevail or not. So underestimation of this generation. But remember, my dear young students, we have all the hopes on you and you would prevail, because every generation, whatever they do, it becomes a foundation premise for all of you. And for future problems, we talk about, climate changes, global issues, economic issues, digitization issues, all these things. For all these, complicated issues, and to see to it that, by the time you go to 2035, today people are saying that just to close your eyes and wake up in 2035, 10 years of sleep, like, that Kumbha Karna, to sleep for 12 years and just wake up and open your, eyes. By the time it is predicted that, mankind would land on Mars. You are totally surrounded by robots. You don't know whether it is human or robot. Careful, boys. Right? So, shortly, machines working by the side of you. All cars, including Indian villages, like Paderu and Araku also, would be driverless. Right? And energy, people now talking about energy and all, all these things. You will have abundant solar energy, which is clean, which is pure nuclear energy, available everywhere. So imagine that kind of a world. That world has a different kind of a problem. To solve that problem, you require a different mindset. Hence, even though some of my generation would say that, I am losing confidence on you. No. We don't want you to reinvent the wheel by going there to the era of not having TV, not having phone. Those days, normal phone. No, we lived, in fact, we grew up with normal phone. No selfies allowed. No selfie kind of, possibilities also there. But today, you need this. From here, you will have to think further to, in fact, address the global challenges. Right? So when especially, look at the kind of focus that this country took up, the focus of this particular country for G20, digitalization for transformation of human lives. The focus of India's G20 this year, digitalization for transformation of human lives. It's the transformation, very, very important, youngsters. It's not just change. Not just change. Change means the old thought is still there. Transformation is totally an evolution. That means you need to completely go out of the box. Out of the box requires, various elements of intelligence. Unfortunately, at this point of time, when you talk about intelligence, you only look at this particular brain. But elders those days, they said that it is not just brain only the intelligence, but there are various components which are called intelligent things. Not just intellect, there are other things. We only say intellect means buddhi. Buddhi means trying to dissect things. For example, if I am here, I know I can dissect things. This is mic, this is separate, that is stage, this is separate. Like that, I can dissect the world and try to explore things. Our education system is always, dissecting things and trying to explore understanding. But it will not go all the way. I want to, for example, know about the full details of Mr. Veerraju. I can't cut him into pieces and then try to understand what he is. That requires a different kind of an intelligence altogether, right? A doctor probably might do that to make some kind of an assessment, but not me. You require, other parts of intelligence. Other parts of intelligence, itla cheptu untaru, not only buddhi, you have got ahankara. Ahankara means identity. And how to make use of this particular identity. Not to identify yourselves, but identify yourselves with the universe. అందుకే చూసారా అక్షరాభ్యాసం తెలుగు వచ్చుగా అందరికీ. అక్షరాభ్యాసం రోజున ఇండియా ఒక్క చోట చెప్తారు స్టార్టింగ్లో, ఐడెంటిఫై విత్ ద యూనివర్స్ అని పద్యం చదువుతారు. You identify with the universe. Identifying with the universe means you are a full family. You are not supposed to identify yourselves. You cannot have that kind of a ahankara that, that I am like this, I am supreme, I am separate. No. You are a part and parcel of this entire globe, the entire cosmos for that matter, the entire universe, not metaverse like Meta company and all, right? So these are all the things, these are especially the chitta, chitta. If you want, you can go back, ask your parents, chitta. Chitta means also an intelligence. But that intelligence, do not require any vocabulary, non-vocabulary. When somebody comes here, automatically they know whether he will be called onto the stage or go there. Student means he is going there, that intelligence, right? So, for example, I'm trying to talk. I know where to keep, my head so that it can always, take that voice in the right spirit. I don't require any memory at all for that, it has no vocabulary at all. So like that, various components are there which are already inscribed into our culture. We have to, in fact, demonstrate all these things to the whole globe. So that whole globe, will have right kind of an attention to India. So that the Indians, today, people are looking at India as a country that can, in fact, give manpower to the whole globe in the coming 20-30 years, because only India is young. That's the advantage. All other countries, they have started, in fact, they have taken a policy very, very long back, 30 years back, not to have children. They don't go for children. You admire them or you don't admire them? Maybe if I privately call your father and ask him, is it a right thing to have the children or not, he might give a different reply. It all depends upon your behavior. If he is already mostly troubling him, then he would say that, sir, I did a mistake. But whole globe has done that kind of a mistake. They did not, in fact, produce children. And all, look at India. India, we have, this energy. You see this energy, this pop, this vibe, this mozo, all these things, this is there with India. And the whole world is looking at, these youngsters to come there and, be a part of them to convert their economies into sustainable economies, right? So with this in the mind, today a wonderful program is being organized with the assistance of RIS, and we have invited Gitesh ji as well as Sanjay and Professor Sriram Murthy. They all would deliver wonderful lectures to you, and my request to each one of you, that when these people, otherwise very difficult to reach them. Even for me, if I go to Gitesh's office or if I go to Sanjay's office, it's not easy for me to get an appointment. And not easy to get Sriram Murthy ji or Subramanian Rajgar. Sriram Murthy is always busy, he is seen only at Delhi, conducting civil servants interviews and all, or giving lectures for the freshly inducted civil servants, all these things. But today they are here. They would be sharing a lot of news with you. So your job is attention, to be here, not to be distracted by anything, including this. And whenever there is an important point given by them, make a note. Not all of you may do it or may not do it, but somebody who is doing it, he will know that he would be different and he becomes an asset. And the other students probably, I think, may belittle him at this point of time, but in the times to come, you will know that this fellow who is seriously sitting over here and taking down the material, very, very cautious, putting all his focus only on this, tomorrow will get a chance to come and sit here and represent somebody of this sort. They were all such serious people those days. They were all such serious people, and I hope and believe that each one of you would take the next coming 2 hours of time and getting into the right shoes and become more of, these type of people. Thank you, Viraju, for giving me this wonderful opportunity to share my views with my students, and thank you all.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Yes, we are all very different, but we are very unique. One earth, one family, one future. We came to I extend heartfelt gratitude and thanks to Honorable Vice Chancellor on behalf of all the student community here for presenting a wonderful talk on this wonderful occasion. Now we move on to the keynote address, a very, very important one. Honorable Vice Chancellor made a point to note down. There are books in your kit. Please bring out those notepads, and pens are placed, so you can use your pen and notebook to note down the important things. And there is a very important assignment for Honorable Vice Chancellor. The CES interviews are going on the other side, so he'll be joining us a little later. Now we are going to the very important part of this program. Keynote address by Ambassador Gitesh Sharma-ji, former diplomat, Government of India, Special Officer, International Cooperation, presently for the Government of Andhra Pradesh. Let me take the privilege to read a brief note about our Honorable Chief Guest of this morning, Gitesh Sharma-ji. Completed his BA Honours and MA in Political Science from Delhi University. He joined the Indian Foreign Service in 1986. Particular expertise in Russia and Central Asia, India's nuclear diplomacy, Pakistan and Quad. Learned Russian in Moscow State University. He has been ambassador or High Commissioner to Australia, Uzbekistan, Fiji, Pacific Island, and so on. He was Consul General in Ukraine when it became independent in 1991. Mr. Sharma's overseas assignments include Indian missions in Moscow, Odisha, Ukraine, Hong Kong, UK, China, Islamabad, Pakistan, and London, UK. He worked in very strategic timings. The period in USSR was during the breakup of the USSR. The period in Hong Kong was during its handover to China. He has worked in Ministry of External Affairs as Under Secretary, Europe East, and Director, Central Asia, Additional Secretary, Multilateral Diplomacy, and Secretary West. In addition, he also served as the Officer on Special Duty, IT-enabled services in the Information Technology Department of the State of Andhra Pradesh, Hyderabad, India during 2002 to 2003. He had been Joint Secretary, External Relations in the Department of Atomic Energy, Government of India, during 2008-11, and participated in negotiations of the India-US nuclear deal. And at present, is advising the government of Andhra Pradesh in Vijayawada on international matters. Thank you so much, sir, for gracing this great occasion with great honor and privilege. May I humbly request you to give your keynote address to these young minds who are present this morning. I request you, sir.
Sound is okay, no? Yeah. Very good morning to you. This is something I didn't really expect on a Friday morning, to find 500 students here waiting to hear something on foreign policy. It's a real big surprise, and very pleasant surprise as well. Professor Reddy, he has given an excellent, wonderful opening presentation, and I could really just take off. I say he said everything, actually. There's nothing more to be said. I also suspected, after seeing your young Vice Chancellor, that I must be the oldest in this room. Shri N. Sanjay, additional DGP. Very happy to have a colleague in civil service tradition sitting here with us. I'm sure he'll bring in very interesting insights when he later on intervenes. Professor Subramaniam Raju, Professor Sri Ram Murthy, Professor K. Ravi, and Mr. Syed Ali. I'm happy to be in an academic setting. If I had a second life, I think I would have been a teacher. This is not only a fantastic initiative, but it is also a timely initiative. So much is happening around the world, and we need to make sense of it. And grateful to Ministry of External Affairs and RIS for this opportunity to visit Andhra University and engage with young minds on foreign policy. Hopefully, some of you will join the Indian Foreign Service. I will ask you this question at the end. But if you do not join the Foreign Service, even so, foreign policy will always touch you. You will never be far away from foreign policy. The enthusiasm with which this university has arranged this event actually confirms my understanding over the years of the service that I have spent, that foreign policy analysis, processing, making of foreign policy has in many ways moved beyond Delhi. And this is because the way that our world has evolved. I would also like to add something by way of the mode of my presentation. This is not a PowerPoint kind of event. I would say that I did work with the IT world at one time, and I used to find that moment you put on the PowerPoint and dim the lights, you would find the yawn starting and people looking at time to relax a bit. So what we will do is a little different. I will make this presentation very, very simple format, and listen as much as you can, and use your brain to generate those slides. Try to imagine those things that I'm telling you. I'm sure that it'll make sense to you. Each one would have a very, very individual way of understanding, and that's all that's required. The subject matter, once again, is heavy, G20, if you want to understand. But if you say that, the speech and all, this is also heavy stuff, just one line you want to, remember at the end and say, I was at the lecture, you can write down that this is one big, great moment for India. So what I'm going to do is give you some tools to understand not only G20 but foreign policy itself. That this is something which has become increasingly technical, and we read a newspaper and just move on. But there are a lot of things which go with foreign policy, and you need a little to pause a little and put together what you know, and then these pictures tend to form around these facts. You would have seen that increasingly state governments take keen interest in the welfare of their people abroad, and they seek to promote international business and investment activity. Earlier this month, I think only this month, 3rd and 4th March, there was a GIS, Global Investment Summit, right here, I think not far from where we're meeting now. And we found the Chief Minister making wonderful presentation, lots of investors, potential investors, businessmen on this campus, and committing themselves to the state for a very, very long time. And in a few days' time from now, after the weekend, Vizag will also host the infrastructure working group the G20, I think 28, 29 March. Therefore, what we need to understand is there is something what I tend to call democratization of foreign policy and analysis. This is where everyone has a stake in foreign policy matters. Everyone can contribute and everyone can benefit. Now, when I am working in this post-retirement job and helping government of Andhra Pradesh in some way, one of my responsibilities is to work with the Andhra Pradesh Non-Resident Telugu Society, which has been set up to service needs of Andhra people all over the world. Believe me, Telugus are all over. I once went to a shop in US and the person selling was Telugu, the person buying was Telugu. Many of you, as you graduate, as you move out of this university, will be looking at the latest policy developments on H-1B visas, US visas. When Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese, he was here again in March. March has been a very, very hectic and active month for Indian foreign policy. I don't know if you saw in the newspapers, in the mass of information, there was one bit that Australia-India education qualification recognition mechanism set up. Mutual recognition of degrees. Imagine you finish your degree and the world is open. You can just go to Australia and pick up a job there. So this is something that matters to you. This is something that concerns you, that some of these aspects. But when I joined the Foreign Service, or a little before that, it was foreign policy making was something, really, which the elite did. One of the first things I did when I joined Andhra around last year or beginning of last year was the Ukraine crisis, actually. The students, it amazed me to find so many students from Andhra in Ukraine studying medicine and some other subjects as well. And it was a Herculean task to locate them, aggregate them, transport them across the frontiers and bring them back to India all safely. And believe me, many were from very, very poor and humble families. So it was a humbling, actually, experience for me. So you find, therefore, that foreign policy is not just about some people sitting in Delhi, but it touches almost everyone and will most certainly touch you. As our Vice Chancellor said so eloquently, that the world is interconnected as never before. When the IT world was coming into its own, someone actually said death of distance. You really don't look at your clock and you ring up and your sister in New York wakes up at the wrong time, because you assume everybody is the same time zone also. It's instant. Call centers, back offices. So it's really what we say is death of distance. Fortunately, very fortunately, India is a leader in information technology. By the way, I know since you were all, our Vice Chancellor was also in information technology, and some time back I was helping government of Andhra Pradesh in IT. I do remember that IT had another connotation about 20 years back, which was more significant. That I did call somebody on my phone, and I said, calling from IT department, and he got pretty nervous, So he thought it was income tax, actually. And the communication, even when we joined when I joined the Indian Foreign Service, connectivity was so poor. I think I must have been the last in India to know that I had been selected, because we didn't have phones, we didn't have email, we didn't have anything. And my mother found out, and she was trying to tell me I was living in Allahabad and she was in Patna, Bihar. And finally she rang up the operator and told her, can you tell my beloved son that he got into Foreign Service? And she did. So this is how, from then to now, that communications has evolved, and we are lucky that we are at the forefront. India is at the forefront of this IT, information technology work. India took over the presidency of Indonesia. Actually, it happened at the Bali summit, but we formally took over on 1st December. And Prime Minister Modi's words was very nice words, inclusive, ambitious, decisive, and action-oriented. You have to take everybody together. And when we say also, the world is one family, it's so. If the world is so connected, then we must be together, and everything that we do impacts on the others. And ambitious, think big. If you are sitting here and just thinking that my ambition is to do something small, go and watch a cricket match, or if you think I want to be go to Mars, as Vice Chancellor Ji was saying, the bigger you think, the longer distances you tend to travel in life. So that's something that India will bring to the table. So this is, as we said, really one of India's biggest moments since independence. Really one of the biggest, huge moment. And I know many of you who are here at this age, and soon you'll graduate too, you will want to say, I was there when it happened. It happened in my time. I remember vividly. But look at a person like me. What are the things we tend to remember? We do remember some things are good and some things not. Some things which not everything is an achievement in that sense. In 1962, when I was the year about when I was born, India had lost the war with China. So, the feeling came at that time that unless we are strong, nobody will take us seriously. The Bangladesh, liberation struggle was a defining moment. The nuclear tests, I remember, in 1974 and 1998. In 1983, many of you would not have been there, India won the Cricket World Cup. This was the moment we could realize that we can be the best in the whole world. Nothing like that feeling. Mission Mars, we remember. Last year, we went past our former colonial master UK and became the world's 5th largest economy. There are other moments too, which probably you can relate to better. I think only the other day, the Indian and Telugu song won an Oscar, Natu Natu. So, that song woke you up, right? Yeah. So, nothing is beyond India and Indians. It is not, see, in our times, it was, I'm the best in South Asia, I'm the best in South India, this hotel is the best in Andhra Pradesh. Today, the world is interconnected. It's, the global world is really a village. You have to be the best in the world. When you go out, I've lived in many countries, and you may think, these racial feelings and others. We can't change colors of our skin or other aspects. But when you're good, people respect you. Remember that, If you're good in maths, good in science, good in history, speak well, people wake up. Wow. So therefore, if you look, at India's achievements, it's an eye-opener, actually. Before we understand, Indian foreign policy and this big achievement, G20, we need to understand India itself. If you are in a company and you go to, project or go into discussions, you need to know about your own company. If you need to, understand anything about India, you have to study India. We are now close to becoming the largest country in terms of population. We have a long way to go, a lot of hard work to be done. But India, believe me, already has features of advanced countries in many areas, especially science and technology, agriculture, space, nuclear, pharmaceuticals, IT, entertainment industry, defense capabilities, among other things. So we really, we can rank with the best. And India has a soft side also, which is very, very attractive. Movies, yoga, dance, and cuisine complement our other achievements. When we started our lives and going abroad, we would struggle to find Indian food. Today, you cannot call yourself a global city anywhere without an Indian restaurant or an Indian food being available. So India has changed the way that people even look at their food or look at exercising or resting or relaxing. G20, remember one thing, that it is not a favor or a gift to India, but a recognition of India's new stature and potential. India is making giant strides, not small strides, but giant strides, as we're beginning to see ourselves differently, and importantly, others are noticing us. In February this year, Air India announced its decision to purchase 470 passenger aircraft from Airbus and Boeing. That really shook up the world, particularly the aviation world. That India coming in such a massive way. When you talk in numbers, if you went and bought a connection, one of the Geo connection or Airtel or whichever, that's one thing. But if 500 people walked into a shop and said, we want 500 connections, look at the way that you are received, or people wake up. So there can be no meaningful participation, no meaningful conversation on big issues without India's presence and participation. If there is no India, you cannot have a serious discussion on almost anything. So India matters today. So you're talking about G20 presidency. So this is really the sentiment or the truth behind this. Without India, whatever you talk, it doesn't matter. We were slow at one time, and people sometimes hold it against us. There's a lag, but it is changing. It will change. When the tiger economies were coming up in 80s and 90s, India was not considered one of those most dynamic of the economies. But look, a tiger also, we were caged for such a long time. The British were 200 years, right? So when you go to a zoo or a circus and a tiger is left out of its cage, it hasn't used its muscles, it hasn't used its teeth for a long time. And when it comes, it's not even sure it is free. So when it steps out of the cage, it will look left and right. Am I really free? Can I do this? Can I jump? Can I, chase someone? So that realization now we can see, that India has come into its own. Those muscles are working. Those reflexes are back in action, and we have acquired our strength. We have, recouped some of this lost energy and strength. So India is on the move, and you're part of that process. You're driving it. You will be driven by that. We have also among the most respected diasporas in the world, including in advanced countries. Almost every other day, you'll find all the top CEOs in the Silicon Valley, in the United States, even the World Bank and IMF, you're seeing those changes now taking place. Ajay Banga's name being mentioned by President Biden. So if you're an Indian, in particularly in technology or one of those real sciences of various kinds, you must be the best. This is not my original story, but I read once that there was, one of our politicians. He was sitting in an airport young politicians in Amsterdam airport, and somebody approached him and said, "Are you an Indian?" He said, "Yes, I'm an Indian." He says, "Can you repair my computer?" "Why?" He says, "Because you're an Indian, you must be good." So that's how it, our successes are rubbing off on Indians who travel, who go outside. the successes of our Indians outside, they add to our own country's achievements and the way that we are perceived by the rest of the world. Look at even the prime ministers. You know, countries are outsourcing their prime ministers to us, right? You have Rishi Sunak, you have, I think, Ireland also, Varadkar, people of Indian origin everywhere. Even Portugal, I think, he holds an OCI card, if I'm not mistaken. Overseas citizen of India, from Goa, I think, yeah. So, one of the greatest honors of being, representing India, Foreign Service gave me a lot of opportunities, but you don't have to be in Foreign Service to do these things, is to represent the Indian flag. Just let me, give you an example like this, I'm standing here and let me stand here, but remove everything else, and the entire scenery changes around me. I'm where I was, but the context has changed. So the way people see me standing with a background will be different later on. And the Indian flag, the respect for India has gone up so much. You go into a room and say, I'm from India, it changes. In the old days, oh, you're from India, You're from India, what do you have to say on this? So there is something which is coming and rubbing off onto us. You'll find it, mark my words, that when you go out into the world, when you cross frontiers, when you fly into some other locations, India matters. The magic of India matters. I'll give you another kind of way of looking. This place, it looks soaked in history. I noticed that the Andhra University was set up in 1920. All right, so I think you're awake, right? Yeah. Soon it will be time to celebrate 100 years of this great university. I really hope that you're going to have a very big birthday party, and all plans immediately after G20 is over will, be formulated and implemented. But let us go back to that time, when the university came up. What I read about this university was that earlier Madras Presidency, I think, was the nearest big place for people to go. My father went there to study, So people were clamoring for modern education. Madras was far away. And some very, very big minds, some of the greatest minds we can think of. Even to stand here, I'll feel their presence, that they came together and set up this institution, right? So their foresight and their vision sowed the seeds of development of not only a country and our state, but this university. So this standout university, this outstanding university, this is really something 100 years back. It was conceived and taken forward, They knew that that India, the future of the world was knowledge, and most advanced societies would be knowledge societies. Therefore, you will find that when we say we are from India, it's one thing, and people respect you. But there will also be that when you take out your card and say, I'm so-and-so, Andhra University, people will stop. And in those two words, the entire background will come, the rich history that, they will say, oh, wow, 100 years back. And when you travel, you'll find people wearing T-shirts, I'm sure you wear also T-shirts of various kinds. Stanford, MIT. Where are the Andhra University T-shirts? I don't see any. So you'll find that, you'll feel like actually that giving your biography by just 2 words, Andhra University, that's all. Is there anything more to say? Now, when we are talking of G20, we've talked about India. Let's talk the other aspect of foreign policy. That we all know in some way, foreign policy, what it is. But you still struggle to define it. Even I struggle sometimes to give a technical, definition. But if you put it very, very simply, you say he's diplomatic, that it's about making friends and also influencing friends. So it's in the context of countries, it's about pursuing a country's interests through foreign policy. It's the opposite of war. You have this war going on, horrible war in between Russia and Ukraine. We would find it's a little uncomfortable, This is not what I was trained for, A surgeon is there to save people's lives. He can't think of causing death, right? So like that, we are for peace. So diplomacy is about friendship and stopping war. So G20, again, when we are trying to understand G20, what is G20 trying to do? That is trying to develop peace, the whole concept of peace in a way which is a little broader. If you just say signing an agreement and there's peace, but building bridges, building connections. So you build a sustainable peace, a durable peace, a peace that will stay. France and Germany were at war for so many years. Today they are at peace because of the level of economic interaction. So that's something that, remember that diplomacy is, we try to build durable peace. We cannot command other countries and say, you do this. I know, we can command you that there is a lecture by Gitesh Sharma, please come. But you cannot tell other countries, even the United States cannot tell a very small country that you will do this. It can happen, they will do things, but that peace will not be durable. So India's G20 presidency is a big opportunity for India to influence global processes. When we are talking about influencing, let's try to pause a little here. That when you go into a big meeting and there's a decision to be taken that should the next campus be built, or do we need a bigger auditorium, since we have so many students and aren't able to sit here for 5,000 people. And the meeting is to take place, but before the meeting, some 20 professors and 20 bright students, they sit in a separate room and they discuss amongst themselves. It may be too costly enterprise. We'd rather spend it on students' facilities of other kinds. So they decide in the meeting which follows, let's not discuss or let's not push this idea of building another auditorium. We have enough, we can use it optimally, including through video means. So when you actually find, when you are not part of that process, you come into a room and you find these people start saying that already decided, and we just go along with that. So this is what something like G20 is, that United Nations has its limitations. The other kinds of organizations have their own little, kind of things which need to be improved. But some decisions are taken outside, and it becomes an accepted kind of, I wouldn't say decision, but kind of way of thinking. So G20 is something that the world's most influential countries, they come together earlier separately in some other place, and then they agree or decide or try to agree on certain things. In contrast, this is a very big year. Lots of things are happening, and I'm sure you will follow those developments. There is also, pardon me, I really didn't want to make it a very heavy presentation, but there's also a meeting of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, a summit in July. And you will wonder, what is G20? What is Shanghai Cooperation Organization? Shanghai Cooperation Organization is a very formal organization. Everything is written down, that you will not say this, you will not say that. All votes, everything, decisions to be decided by consensus, 100% votes, then only you can go ahead. Where G20 is something where you discuss, there is no formal process, it just goes along, and you becomes consensus over a period of time. So there's advantage of having a formal structure, especially when you have a lot of problems. If you say India and a country where we don't like each other, we'll set the ground rules. You'll not talk of Kashmir, you'll not talk of this, you'll not talk of border, you'll not talk of this. I'll talk of terrorism, etc., etc. And moment he talks of Kashmir, he'll say, sorry, I'm sorry. So rules are especially important, like in a club, you join a club, when you think there will be a violation. So G20 is to build opinion, to work together towards certain kinds of solutions over a period of time. It may not be one day that you'll have a solution, but over a period of time things will happen. So therefore, this is a way of understanding G20 also. So we really talked about, democratization of foreign policy, where decisions and others, these are now spread and coming from other places. If we opened our borders for rice imports, our farmers in Andhra, they would suffer, or mangoes from Australia or somewhere else. So we talked about democratization. We talked about India and the flag, that we are, in a way rising. And we are also becoming a very strong, credible country. And we also talked about foreign policy. It's about making friends also. And we also have to remember that what Honorable Vice Chancellor said about, he quoted from our epics. Look at the India itself, that we are perfectly positioned. You're doing G20, SCO with Russia, with Ukraine. We are talking with everyone. Iran, we're talking. India is the only country which talks with everyone. So there's something that the epics. If you look at Ramayana, what do you notice? Where was the diplomat in Ramayana? Hanuman, right? He went as a messenger to Ravan, and what they did? Not burned. They didn't treat him well. What happens if you're not treated well as a diplomat? You're an honest messenger, right? He was ill-treated. Look at the consequences. Like you said, Lanka was burned. So that is, and incidentally, Mahabharata also has that. Before the Great War, Lord Krishna went as a messenger. And he said, what is a war? It is a few villages, give them, they'll be happy. But message wasn't taken. So India has a very, very big responsibility in this world, this divided world, this polarized world, trying to forge consensus. You try to bring that together, what is minimum, that at least we are agreed on these 10 points, and the others we can take on later on. So you take the difficult ones later on sometimes. So we are perfectly positioned. We are wonderfully placed this year to lead not only G20, but the world as such towards hope, right? That's something, one of our aspirations in a world which is one. What is hope? See, in foreign policy, one of the reasons we also don't make PowerPoint presentations usually is diplomats are very careful about words. You say something loosely and goes around in a different context. Yeah. So each word, when you see in a agreement, text, it's crafted so carefully. We can fight over it for days. I won't agree on this word. Hope. Why hope? Or G20. What is hope in that? So if you have time, like a hobby, like a leisure kind of activity, if you read these words, it's not just words. There'll be an entire battle or a history to that formulation. So think about it again as one of those mental slides I told you to think. The actual G20 also, and if you look, I really won't spend so much time. This is easy to read about them. But G20 meetings also have a context. The one Bali particularly came after the COVID, when the world was impacted so strongly and in such ways, each one of us felt it, right? So, Prime Minister Modi's message was simple. Today's era must not be of war. Period. Nothing more. There's how can you think of war in today's world? And everything else, people say, why didn't India say this or that? Is there a need to say even one word more after this? No more. Get back to the table, talk, use your diplomats, use friends, So this is something that I think is the tone, really, that India is very beautifully positioned. Again, March looks an amazing month. You had the Quad meeting, you had the dignitaries coming, G20 finance ministers, foreign ministers meetings, the Raisina dialogue, which is another, is developing into a great forum to discuss security and other issues, particularly from the Indian perspective. So all of these people, Lavrov, Foreign Minister Lavrov and Blinken, talking in New Delhi, or at least having some contact. So we are really very proud to be Indians. We were always proud, and at this point of time, more so. There are other issues. I'll just, if you give me 2-3 minutes, I'll just go through rapidly, then you can rest and recuperate. Yes, strengthening multilateralism, some of these issues which come up, and as UN completed, its 75th anniversary, and we are now into the 75th, that many challenges can be addressed only through reinvigorated multilateralism, reforms, and international cooperation. And I think it's fairly clear that we think India has a place, and I think many of the people in the world think that without 1 billion plus people being represented adequately in the United Nations Security Council, the discussions itself will not be complete, or will not have that kind of credibility. Food and energy security is clear, and if I say that it's a shame, absolute shame, that the food stockpiles in one part of the world and starvation elsewhere. So G20 has welcomed this Black Sea initiative, Russian and Ukraine war notwithstanding. This wheat from these parts have been going out to Africa and elsewhere. So these are moments when we should work together, and no one should really go hungry. The global architecture should be modified, can be modified. I was part of the nuclear deal negotiations, and it looks impossible. It will never happen, can't happen. There never is like that, That time will come and everything moves in such a way, and the way the nuclear architecture was modified to accommodate India without signing the nuclear non-proliferation treaty. So it can happen, it will happen, but you will do that in the next 25 years for sure. Climate change, yes, there are ways of thinking that, but we have to limit rise in global temperature, and to 1.5, I think that's our target, and India has committed to zero emission by 2070. But we have to have a balance. We have to develop. Other countries developed, and then they tell us now don't do this. I know, but our people are hungry. They have no jobs, so we have to balance that. So that's something that you will take. But if I give a dramatic example, I was once ambassador to Kiribati, actually the island. You'll try to find it on the map. You'll struggle. It's a tiny island, about I think about how many people? 20,000 people or 25,000 people in one of the islands, and you can walk from end to end. But it's sinking under the sea. Think of people. I hope you don't smoke, but if you smoke a cigarette, that island may go down a little more. And so we need to deal with the climate issue. And if you're connected, then what we do here, what we do there, is connected to something else somewhere else. So that's health, COVID pandemic. Need not dwell on it. It's still too fresh even now, some cases. But look at India. World is one family, right? And who came to the help of the rest of the world? Every other country hoarded vaccines. Yeah, India was a country which, if you have something, in India we have that culture, that you don't have something, your neighbor comes and says, yeah, I'll do something, Your friend says, give me 5 rupees. I don't have, but I'll say, okay, let me dig. I'll ask someone else and give. So this is our tradition, that we share what we have. So it's a vaccine, that Maitri, that is, I think people in the world have seen that we not only give vaccine, but look, one step we develop the vaccines. And here, in our region where you live, that some of the vaccines was done here. Development cooperation, SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals. It's a whole, kind of series of goals and, targets. But Andhra Pradesh is really one of the top performing states in this respect. But it's basic, even if you didn't know what 17 goals were: bathrooms, toilets, cleaning, water, food, education. Yeah. So that is something to be, it shouldn't be infinite, if you say that in the next century they will be there, it doesn't make much sense. 2030, try to do everything, Can you imagine the person in the slums next to you, you tell him next century, your family will have something. Running water. So something to think about. I hope you will think about emerging technologies. I think some of them have law and order implications, and very, very fortunate to have Sri Sanjay Garu also sitting here, and his insights, his or he was here, right? So his insights and all were always would have been very, very important. That crime, it just in a flash, people disappear across borders, money vanishes, and you have to have a world. Today, you can't have dirty money. And there was a time, you can say my country, what I do is my business. But this is what I said, in G20, you build a consensus. You build a way of thinking that this is wrong. So there's a common set of morals which you combine and develop. And it's not possible. The FATF, they monitor how money is used. Global skills mapping, and shall I give you one last example? Or this technology, you wouldn't even understand how people in my generation were. See, I used to work in a job before I joined Foreign Service where a lot of calculations were there before you released money. So this was sometime in the 80s, and when calculators were introduced, we sort of took a big decision to give them calculators. So they were used to saying 2 plus 2 equal to 4. And then when you gave a calculator, they pressed 2 and got 4. So, but they were not sure that 4 is right. So they will check it again manually, the reverse, right? But you take a complex, 100 numbers, you do it. They were very fast in their own way. They would calculate it. So technology is about trust also, about the way you imbibe it, digest it, you deal with it. So this is something that I strongly encourage you to think that how technology can be made relevant. Disaster, resilience infrastructure, increasingly storms. In Vizag also, I think you've had some terrible storms, and it can really hit us hard. So build that kind of infrastructure. Your skills, your Andhra University will definitely give you that kind of knowledge. Later on also you will learn. So so that's really I have, and I hope I wasn't too heavy in the presentation. So let us look towards September 2023 G20 Summit. Let us look beyond September 2023 G20 Summit. It's only a stepping stone, a big stepping stone, a huge leap you can make. But we have miles to go. And if you saw, everything foreign policy, as I said, everything is linked. Japanese Prime Minister was again here. Was it last Monday? I think it must have been on last Monday. And what did he do? He said India is invited to G7 meeting. Did you not read that? Those of you who still read newspapers in some way. That means we are getting into a more exclusive meeting room, right? The smaller, where decisions are taken, then it is released to the G20, and then it goes to the rest of the world. So this is a shape of things to go. Will India become a member of UN Security Council? Looks difficult right now, but as I said, nothing is impossible. As the very popular Minister for External Affairs said only a few days back, or he asked, how long will they keep us out? So it can happen, and we have done not too badly in 75 years, but you will see the next 25 years. So best wishes to each one of you. And shall I ask that question also, that which I had saved? How many of you would like to join the Indian Foreign Service? Don't bother to tell me, but think about it. But even otherwise, wherever you are, whichever capacity, whatever you're doing, best wishes, you will be dealing with foreign policy. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ambassador Giti Sarmaji. I understand our students are very much blessed with your keynote presentation. Thank you very much. We have 3 more speakers in the row to deliver their remarks, but be assured we will send you on time, right? So we have the great privilege of having 2 eminent academicians Professor Sri Ramurthy Garu and Professor S. Subramaniam Raju Garu to give their special remarks. First, I request Professor Sri Ramurthy Garu, our Honorable Vice Chancellor gave enough introduction about him, so I don't take any time to introduce him again. It's my honor and privilege to invite Professor Sri Ramurthy Garu, former Principal, College of Arts and Commerce, Andhra University, to deliver his special remarks.
Very warm greetings to the young minds who are sitting here. Respected Shri Gitesh Sharma Garu, respected Sanjay Garu, Professor Subramaniam Raju, Dr. Shri Ali, Professor Veer Raju, Professor James Stephen, dignitaries of the dais, my dear young delegates, ladies and gentlemen, I deem it as a privilege to speak before you on this great occasion that India is now looked with all enthusiasm by whole world. While conducting as a president of the G20 summit, we have been doing so many other things that are seen with a lot of applaud and respect from great leaders across the globe. Even during the hard times of Ukraine-Russia war, India's position is being respected by all the other great leaders. You all know the reason for that is India is now a great economy under the great leadership of our Prime Minister, Sri Modi ji. Today's occasion is purely for the benefit of young minds here. What is the contribution of G20? What could be the contribution of G20? The University Connect. But before that, I wanted to be very brief that where we are standing today. Once we were heckled by the whole world because that we are just moving under Hindu rate of growth of around 3%. But today, the whole world is struggling to put a growth rate, positive growth rate of 2% or 3%, but India is logging more than 6% rate of growth according to the World Economic Outlook of IMF. Not only that, we have succeeded in reducing poverty. The acute poverty is estimated to be less than 3%, and poverty of less than $2.95 a day is only 10%. And you are a $1 billion economy, third largest economy under purchasing power parity, and you are reigning in inflation even during these hard times around 5%, and unemployment is just 7%, and the youth are contributing outside the country and inside the country for the growth because 50 crore population is young population. It is called demographic dividend. So you are the wealth of the nation first and of the whole world next, because whole world depends on you for your growth. Our Vice Chancellor has given very beautiful introduction. You know, the baby boom of late 50s and 60s was almost exhausted, evaporated across the globe, especially in the European countries, because they have no population growth. Population is stagnating. And those who were born in 1950s and 60s are now aging growth. They do not have young population. They have laboratories, they have universities, they have other research facilities, but without human capital, that is the young researchers, young students. That's why all the countries are coming to India with open hands, inviting our young people to come and work in those countries, in those universities and institutes, and they are offering good research grants, they are offering positions also. The reason is they do not have the demographic dividend which the country has. So, friends, the future is yours, as rightly pointed out by our Vice Chancellor, and I think the coming decade will decide the level of our position, and it is estimated by one of the important studies that by 2050, India will become the second largest economy next only to China. And we push USA to the third position by 2050. So that is the future prospect for India. And you are going to be the participants. And as Professor Gitesh also said that we have contributed, but now the future is in your own hands. So what I wanted to tell you on this happy occasion, that you have to plan your career. As he said, how many of you are interested to come into foreign service? But as a faculty member of the university for more than 40 years, and with all my experience with central institutions, I would only tell you, if you have a career, if you wanted to have a career, you better try and succeed in the central institutions and central examinations mostly conducted by UPSC, because they have a schedule, they have a time frame, and everything is being done under 100% secrecy, and there is no question of any intervention. It is your own, your worth, your ability, your capacity will decide your position. So, my young friends, I wanted to suggest, because you have to choose a career, then you choose a career. You will become an IAS officer like Sri Sanjay, an IPS officer, anything you can become. Only thing is, you must have the willpower and the strong determination and hard work. So, it is not only that. There is, the whole world is available with great opportunities. You need not go only into employment. You can be an employer by starting startups. So, use the present plank wherein the opportunities are umpteen, unlimited. Sky is the limit for all of you. So, I wanted to tell my young friends to, because you have attended this beautiful occasion, you remember that from today onwards, you take up an idea and work on those idea, and as Swami Vivekananda said it, that arise, awake and stop not till the goal is reached. Then you will become whatever you wanted to become. And here I wanted to tell you few things. I don't want to take much of your time, but when you say University Connect, long ago, our first Vice Chancellor, Sri Katamanchi, Sir Katamanchi Ramalinga Reddy said that universities are not made up of brick and mortar. Universities are made up of teachers and students. But remember, over the years, I am telling not the immediate past 5 years or 6 years, over the decades, the higher education was totally neglected by different governments. And unless and until you invest in human capital, you cannot have a future for the country, or for that matter, for the whole world. So, higher education institutions must be strengthened. How to strengthen them? By giving a scheduled recruitment process for the teachers. So, you must be provided with good faculty. Now, remember, even the central institutions, it was documented, it's not my saying, that 30 to 40% vacancies are there. In the state institutions, 60 to 70% are vacant. Then how a university could impart quality education? How you can be provided with access to better education? So, access to better education, access to equitable education, access to quality education depends on the faculty. And the time has come, under G20 leadership, it is my suggestion for the body, august body, to note that the government, the central government as well as state government should focus on providing quality faculty. And immediately you can have, like UPSC, a commission to recruit nationwide faculty and allot them depending upon the needs of different universities and as per the choice of the vice chancellors. So the vice chancellor must be involved, and you must have a list of merit list of teachers. And immediately also the CSIR, ICSR and UGC are providing fellowships for PhD program and postdoctoral program, and after completing postdoctoral program, the scientists are left idle. So my suggestion is those postdoctoral fellows who are young, less than 40 or 42 years, they must be given an opportunity to participate in the faculty administration. And that's why you can immediately fill the gap. You have to bridge the gap between the level of vacancies and the available faculty. More than one-fifth of the, one-fourth or one-fifth of the faculty are just, existing in the state universities. And the government, central government should provide funds to the state through UGC central bodies ultimately to provide the quality teachers. Quality education is possible only with quality teachers and quality students. So the University Connect today under the new educational policy, you all know that there is a cafeteria approach. You can have simultaneously different levels of studies. You can switch subjects from one area to another area, and you can move from one university and institution to another university. And it's a welcome phenomenon that the universities like Andhra University are engaging with MOUs with developed countries universities, Western universities. Recently our university has signed with Sweden. So similar things are also very, very welcome. But what I want to tell you is the time has come today for the government to concentrate and strengthen the higher education institutions, that is universities. So unless and until we develop the universities and university administration is given a free hand to recruit better quality teachers, it is not possible for us to build the human capital and take the advantage of the coming decades. And you all know that past 2 decades are stop and start decades, but this decade is rebuilding decade. And you all know that the COVID and the war devastated the whole world. Even in this period, India is looking as a bright spot. So I wish that all of you have a bright future and will have better opportunities. Thank you, one and all. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Sriram Murthy garu, for your enlightening talk. And it's time to listen to Professor A. Subramaniam Raju garu, Dean International Relations, Pondicherry University. I'm so happy to learn that he served in this university also for some time. It's an honor and privilege to invite you, sir.
Good afternoon to everyone. I'm very happy being with the part of this G20 event, not only representing G20 University Connect, but also as an alumni of Andhra University. I had a stint at Andhra University during 2006 and 9, and I'm very happy to be here. And my views on India's presidency at G20, I'll take 15 minutes to navigate my views on how India could really play a very significant role in G20. G20 was established in 1999, and it represents 84% of GDP and 79% of world trade and 65% of world population. In other words, G20 plays a very significant role, not only at G20 but at global level. And this is a very influential forum, particularly its target is look for economic cooperation at global level. And it has developed countries as well as developing countries or emerging powers. It is somewhere we are looking at when India got presidency of G20, we look at what is India's role when most of the countries or the major countries are dominating in G20, how India being a developing country and not even a member of Security Council, permanent Security Council member, how India is going to lead. That is the big question before us. And when you're talking about global finance or global economy, G20 is also discussing about the other issues like energy security, food security, empowerment, or global governance. There are a lot of contradictions and divergent interest between the countries of G20, and a decision at G20 cannot be taken without the consensus of the all members of G20. If that is the case, then how India is going to lead a major role. And presidency has come to us by rotation. When we take it rotation, should we take it serious or not? And our Prime Minister is talking about that at the time when we are witnessing challenges, we need to take this opportunity, and this opportunity should be made into reality. And what are the problems across the world, as the previous speakers was talking about? Global supply chain crisis, geopolitical crisis, debt crisis, COVID, and international disaster, where we have witnessed the war between Russia and Ukraine. And this is the time for us when we are not developed. India is not developed country. India is not permanent Security Council member, but still it is a time for us to showcase our strength, particularly talking about the digitalization of transactions, inclusive growth, health care, new education policy, unity in diversity or diversity in unity, traditional and historical experiences. The rest of the world is looking at India as a reliable partner, and the rest of the world is looking at India as an elder brother. And India is champion of navigating trust. India is looking for multilateral engagements for stability, security, and safety. As earlier speakers said, that India is the fastest growing economy, but it is rising peacefully, and it is accepted by most of the countries in the world. And how do we navigate India's strengths, particularly traditional values, as we have a slogan is Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. Our Prime Minister was advocating Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, collective effort and inclusive growth, our Sagar, security and growth for all in the region, one world, one sun, one grid, one earth, one family, one future. These are all indicating how we are trying to look at Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam to be advocated across the world. Ours is a consultative society where we are in a position to reach the major players or the developing countries, whereas other countries, even the developed countries, are not in a position to reach every country. And that is our strength, because we were always looking for Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. India is able to have dialogue with the key players and developing countries, and everyone is looking at on the present crisis in Ukraine, where our Prime Minister was talking to the Premier of Russia that this is not the era of war, and that is the indication given. And India is trying to have dialogue with Russia and Ukraine to end the conflict. And we are also representing Global South. And in the recent times, in January, India had a virtual summit where 125 countries participated. And this is how we look at after G20 presidency, India is also looking for representing Global South. 125 countries are in touch with India. India is the one which is having developmental programs in 78 countries out of 195. It indicates that we strongly believe in Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. Another area of looking for cooperation at G20 could be because most of the countries, including landlocked countries, are largely depending on oceans for their trade. Without trade, no country can prosper. And most of the countries in Indian Ocean or Indo-Pacific looking for India's role in maritime domain. India's profile in the world would world enhanced through maritime domain. And also we have these epics which taught us about Samudra Manthan, where there was a war between angels and devils or demons. I think this is one way of looking at navigating our philosophy across the world, talking about that how Samudra Manthan to be interpreted, that the state should not fight against another state because state is a sovereign state, and state should fight against the threats which we are being faced. And this is a time for India, being a little state, to navigate this idea of developing blue economy at G20, because G20 represents 45% of world's coastline and 21% of exclusive economic zone. The students must be knowing about, irrespective of the size and population, every state has a jurisdiction of over 200 nautical miles to explore and exploit the resources on the waters. And this is what we look at, how this could really help us, how India could articulate the blue clusters or developing blue economy, because our future is now oceans. When we talk about ocean is so important, connected to the life of the people, then we have to look at how this maritime spatial program could be accelerated among the countries in G20 to look for future. I think that is one area where India could probably connect to the rest of the G20 members. Prime Minister does not want to see the G20 presidency as a debating club or a talking shop. He needs to look at how to articulate our strengths, how we need to connect with the rest of the world. And it is a time for us to look at and tell others, talking about how family binding, our family responsibility, our family obligations, or our food styles, or our lifestyles, which need to be articulated to the rest of the world, because we are the one who are going to decide the future of the world. And also, how Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam can be relevant for us, because if you look at the GHG emissions by different countries, if you look at United States, 25% of GHG emissions contributed by largest economy, and the EU, 22%. China represents 13%, Russia 5%, whereas India is 3%, where 18% of the world population represented by the country like India. Despite knowing the difficulty of mitigating GHGs, and also there is one record which says that in case India is going to mitigate GHG emissions by 25 to 30%, the future scenario would be India's GDP will be 4% and poverty will be increased to 17%. Despite that, India is committed to make zero net GHG emissions by 2070. And thereby, our Prime Minister is talking about one earth, one sun, one grid, where solar power could really help us to mitigate these GHG emissions. Earlier, Western countries used to tell us what we should do, but now it is the time for us to tell them what they should listen to us, because we strongly believe in Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. We always look for, though we are not part of the problem, we are part of the solution, where we look at how one can look at, we are now in a situation, not only rule takers, we are also rule shapers, and also we are rule makers, because we never violate any international law. We respect international organizations or multilateral forums. And also we know how to respect nature, as Vice Chancellor was telling about how nature is so important for our life, where we look at how the GHG emissions, which was a major concern for a country like India, and we are looking at about how to mitigate, how to shift our uses from fossil fuels to non-fossil fuels. That is what we look at through one sun, one world, one grid. We are trying to connect 140 countries to have a common grid that will be used as a channel for transfer of solar power. That is what we have to navigate to the rest of the world, and that is the responsibility of young people to look at how India is so committed in terms of looking at universal brotherhood. We also look at how we have a stable government. The Western countries identified India as a reliable partner, and we are now, the Western countries are not in a position to talk about Kashmir issue at all, because earlier they used to have hue and cry about Kashmir issue, because now we are in a position to make them to realize how important for us, for them to realize how India is an important player in the world. I am not giving a rosy picture about how India is very good. We have difficulties, we have challenges. Which society doesn't have challenges? Which state doesn't have challenges? And that is something where we need to look at, because we have caste-based parties, we have religious-based parties, we have regional-based parties. Still we work together, we talk together, we live together, we grow together. That is what we talk about, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. And the leadership crisis across the world, look at either in Asia or in Africa or in the West, we have a problem. Thereby now there is a vacuum where India has a leverage to play a very significant role. We are the one who are talking about universal brotherhood. We are the one who are talking about no one is superior or inferior. And it is a time for us to navigate the idea of Mahatma Gandhi, who talked about Sarvodaya, welfare of all. If one gains in non-violence, the entire humanity gains. Universal human value of ahimsa ought to be cultivated at international level. I think this is the time for us to tell the great players or major players that the force of power never wins against the power of love. And we can create a new world, we can create a new India and a different India. And when British came to India, our GDP was 23%. When British left us, the GDP was 4%. And after 75 years or 76 years, now India emerged as one of the key players. And finally, end of my presentation, I would like to say how this event is important, because Prime Minister is advocating that to reach the young minds. And this is the event is mainly focused on how to reach young minds. India is expecting to reach $5 trillion of economy by 2025 and $10 trillion by 2030. How it is possible when Prime Minister was envisaging this economy? Because youth is our future, youth is our hope, youth is our strength. Youth is going to decide the future of India. While world is aging, India is becoming young. This era belongs to youth. because 50% of our population is less than average of 29. Thereby we talk about that this yellow belongs to India. And finally, conclude by saying that this is a time for us to build narratives of our values, our ethos, our civilization, our way of approach towards the rest of the world, and how we were able to help the countries when they are in crisis, name it tsunami or COVID. And COVID is the one which really made the rest of the world to recognize India, because India was able to reach many countries in terms of supply vaccine. And after COVID, rest of the world recognized India as which cannot be neglected. And ours is a civilizational democracy, and this is the time for the young people to articulate how we can promote or navigate the strength which we have to the rest of the world. Thank you for your patience listening to me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Subramaniu Rajgaru, for your presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, now we came to the last speaker of the day. So, followed by few question and answers, and it will be very, very interesting. We have a great pleasure of having with us Sri N. Sanjay, Senior IPS Officer and present CID Chief. And I know him for a long, long time. And he's very good student interactive personality, and you would thoroughly enjoy his talking and question and answer sessions. Now I request Sri N. Sanjay ji to come and give his special address to the student community here.
Dignitaries on the dais, especially our distinguished chief guest, Ambassador Gitesh Sharma ji, and all the other eminent personalities around here, and special namaskar to Madam Gitesh Sharma, who I'm glad to see here, and all my dear students. It's a nice feeling here to be with young minds. It doesn't mean that we are carrying old minds over here. First of all, let me clarify that the grey hair on our heads should not be counted against us. It should be counted in favor of us. Okay? Shall we agree on that? Because I am sure there will be a lot of disagreement at home, but agreement at university. It is life. I too have passed through such phases. But what all agreements we sign outside our home, we are accountable always at our home. We are accountable all through our life. Ambassador Gitesh would appreciate when I say that this word in the context of his service. What all agreements he would have concluded outside India, they had an impact on India at home, at his home country. So he would have conducted himself with extreme care, caution, precision, and all kinds of preparedness to achieve good agreements abroad, so that his home nation, India, would benefit from that. And the country would progress. Same way a family. See, the progression is very simple. Individual, somebody rightly said, individual is not individual, individual connected with universe. Just like a computer is not a computer as long as I don't give you a internet connection. My daughter hates to see a computer which doesn't have an internet connection. It's a dumb computer, she says. So, same way, an individual who is not connected to the universe, to the Paramatma, to the spiritual higher realms of his life, is a dumb individual. And then the individual who is connected to the spiritual realms, God and universe, and not connected to his family, is again a forgettable Swamiji, isn't it? Good for nothing at home or anywhere else. The best place for him is to go to Himalayas. And then the individual who is connected only to God and to society, only to God and to his family, and devoted totally to these two things, and least bothered about even the garbage outside his home and responsibilities across in society. Such an individual again is another advanced dumb creature, I would say. Advanced version of a dumb creature. Just like having an iMac 1 terabyte 3 lakh desktop computer, all in one. It's about 5 times costlier than a HP. But then it is 5 times dumber if it is not connected to the internet. The other day the Raj Bhavan called us and asked that there was a hacking in their systems. So being the cyber crime chief also, I had to send a team. Our team came back and told me, sir, it's very simple. The people in the Raj Bhavan, they think that they can store all their passwords and all their things happily typed like a telephone directory you keep at home, isn't it? Uncle, pinny number, sister's number and all that. That way they simply typed everything nicely and stored in the very same computer which is connected and which is not a dumb one. And a connected computer always invites other crimes and other people. They hack in like this. So we told them, if you think that you can't store all your passwords in your handbag or somewhere, then you buy one computer, make it a dumb computer, put it there, don't ever connect it to the internet. The computer science expert here, my guru, Dr. James Stephen, will sure appreciate. Recently, he has been instrumental in helping me complete my MTech computer science here at this stage in this university. So buy a computer that is dumb and store all your information there and don't connect it anywhere. Am I right? I think I am right talking about computers before lunch, because that's the only way I can keep young minds connected to this old mind, isn't it? Now you understood why I am talking computers? I am not a computer expert. I am an expert to deal with young minds. And then the question is, why the youngsters seated in this hall are not making any noise? Why no professor is saying, shut down, sit down, quiet. Why? Because none of you is a medico here? Because every medical college that I went, I needed a law and order inspector in uniform. Or maybe the answer is, he who is ragged can rag well the others. Because the most ragging happens therefore they rag the speakers who come like this, isn't it? So that means you are not ragged enough. Good. So I'm glad to see young people sitting here and listening to international affairs from experts who have come from with their experience across the world. And here I am, a localite. I'm a true localite in the real sense of the term, born and brought up in Vizag city and worked in Vizag steel industry, did a diploma in mechanical engineering at Government Polytechnic, did an AMI in this very same university, wrote my exams, and did the Vizag steel job for a few years, and then got into IPS, civil services, through my own inspiration, my father's guidance, and all over the place in the police service, in Telangana, Rayalaseema, everywhere. And here I am before you today. I just wanted to give a brief about that. I belong to the 1996 batch of the IPS, which is exactly 10 years junior to Sir Geetesh Sir, who is a generation ahead of me, 1986 batch. And I would say that if a youngster can wake up to Natu and not wake up to India reaching fifth economy, fifth largest in the world, means that I don't want to blame youngsters. It means that the excitement is always higher in a youngster, and it settles down as they grow old. Seniors would have woken up when Sir mentioned that the fifth largest position, leading economy position of UK had been usurped by India. And UK happens to be our colonial masters. One day, I was in the UK one day. There was a lady speaking to, and I just joked with her in the Cambridge University. A lady professor, I said, "Ma'am, you're the descendant of our former colonial masters, meeting the descendant of your former slaves," I said. I told her. And she said, "Come on, Sanjay, don't bring slave and master into this. We know where we are. We know where you are going. I know you want me to admit that," she said. At a breakfast table. That sums it up all. Another word of inspiration for you, I'll bring out from my brief experience in my own career. One day I was seated in Hyderabad, I was supposed to buy some weapons from 2-3 countries. So Israel had presented and gone. The Americans came and went with a certain category of Colt weapons. And then today, on that particular day, the French team had come. The French were offering a particular pistol, an equivalent of the ones that we use usually. So he was also offering a few other weapons, and he said, "Sir, we need the whole day." So the whole day we engaged, and we gave him a good continental breakfast, and he came there at 6:30 in the morning, and by evening 4, I myself had fired about 2,000 rounds. And a whole team of our police officers were there. Different formations. We brought some central and other forces. So at the end of the day, we were relaxing back after the whole day's grueling schedule, in which he had seen me arranging so many things and all that. So he was telling me at the dinner, he was telling me in his typical European accent, "You are very old. We are very young," he said. "Come again? What's that?" I said. Because that was a retired Legion fellow, French army guy. And I was quite young. It was 15 years ago as a DIG. And I said, "I can't understand what." "No, you are very, very old. We are very, very young," he said again. So what he meant was, then he said, "You are 5,000 years old culture. We are just 300 to 400 years. We are nothing before you," he said. Thank you, I said. Then he said, "I am talking about you, not only whole India. You," he said. "Oh, I am not old, I am young," I said. Then he said, "No, you are." So the European man, he didn't have a good English expression. He meant, for him, old meant an expertise in several things and versatility. That's what he meant actually. You are very versatile, he wanted to say, but poor fellow doesn't know English, what to do. So that's how you can boast today. An Indian can boast all over the world. We can say, poor fellow doesn't know English. That poor fellow cannot speak Hindi. This poor fellow cannot speak Tamil. That poor fellow cannot speak Telugu. You can go and proudly say in New Zealand, that poor fellow who served me tea cannot speak Telugu. You know that? Do you know that? You should not feel as if Telugu is something below whatever is that language, English or French. So that guy said versatile. So why? He said that since morning I'm watching you, you came to the firing range at 5:30 until evening 5:30, 12 hours I've seen you. You spoke 4 languages, English, Hindi, Telugu and a little bit of Tamil. And you spoke with different police colors. He meant police formation, khaki, blue, some other guys, they came. CRPF, India, national level, state level, neighboring state, Tamil police. And you have managed so many kinds of food, he said. You gave me a Western food, you gave them South Indian, you gave North Indian. Whole day you're managing everything. I'm watching you whole day. So that is the ability of an Indian. You are far, far ahead of us. You are far more capable than us. We can hardly achieve so many things in 12 hours, he said. So that gave me a lot of pride because we as Indians, being diverse in our nature, diverse in our culture and existence, we should feel proud and we should feel happy wherever we are. Suppose you are people close to Odisha, you are in Vizag. You should try and pick up the neighboring Odisha language. You should never consider Odisha as a backward state and Andhra as a forward state and all that. The more you know the great Prime Minister P.V. Narasimha Rao, he had mastery over 13 languages. Imagine the kind of connect he had with people, isn't it? I'm not saying speaking. He had mastery. He mastered those 13 languages or so. And therefore, every youngster here has a responsibility to breathe Indian, to look Indian, to promote Indian, the Indian in you. Do you know that, sometimes I ask this question very proudly to some people, do you know that there are only 20% on the world population who know how to wear a proper sari since 5,000 years, I say. And all the 20% they live in this country, I say. Do you know that wearing a sari is the most complicated thing for the rest of the 80% population in this world? There's several other things that is unique about India. If wearing a sari itself is so complicated, let's not talk about making a sari, handloom and all that. And then, if making a sari is so complicated, can you imagine that we had made saris 2000 years ago which could fit into a mobile phone box, charger box. That is the India you have to project today, not the India that believes about slaves and masters and all that, or accent, this accent, that accent, Telugu accent, Malayali accent, Punjabi accent and all that. No. We have to project an India that breeds all these 5,000 years of richness and heritage. Like that Frenchman watched me the whole day. He found the different policemen coming from UP, Bihar and Tamil Nadu and AP, and how nicely they are collaborating. And when lunchtime came, nicely North Indian lunch, South Indian lunch, isn't it? And how they mingle and brought about so much of efficiency in testing out all the weapons that he brought. So with these words, I would like to hand over the stage for some good lively questions by all of you, because I'm sure your young minds are full of questions, and we are all here to receive them. Just by asking a question itself, it's an enlightenment to the one who asks and to everyone who listens. I don't know how efficiently we can answer you, but we are looking forward to bright questions from each one of you, and we don't want to waste a single minute anymore. I thank the organizers. I thank James Stephen and VC, Mr. Prasad Reddy, and all the other senior professors and retired faculty here for this opportunity that I got to interact briefly with all of you. Thank you very much. Jai Hind.
Thank you very much for the practical talk, Sri N. Sanjay, Senior IPS Officer. So, maybe a couple of questions, not from each one of them, but at least from few of you. You can ask the questions. I request the organizers to arrange a mics here, couple of mics over the stage. You can just raise your hand if you have a question. Yeah, go there. Money, go there. Just raise your hand. Money, come here. Come quickly. Go there.
Sir, can we just have first 5 students that stand, and then we'll take those questions?
Yeah. That's it. So raise your hand. Who will be asking the next question? You? Yeah, next 3, then 4, then 5 bus. Thank you. Quickly.
Hello. Hi, sir. My name is Mansa. My question is to Mr. Gitesh Sharma. Sir, actually, it's more of a general wondering. I always wondered what the diplomats would talk about when they meet the, little troublesome counterparts like China in a meetings like G20 or any other informal forum as, for that matter. I mean, on what lines would the discussions go? I always wondered it. So now that I got an opportunity, I wanted to ask you.
Well, firstly, my daughter's name is Manasa, so I was happy with that start.
Okay, thank you.
I thought it was a rare name, but happy to see one more. See, diplomacy is a lot about choreography. See, when you come out of a meeting, both must look good, right? It's not like a game where you play table tennis, I won. So a lot of time when we say protocol and everything is set up in very formal ways, it's to protect the face, right? You meet even United States meeting the smallest country also, they are equals. They have face. The presidents must come out smiling and say, I got what I want, he got. So a lot of groundwork is done before that, they decide before that this will be the agenda. They'll stick to this agenda. The comfortable zone is this, comfort zone is this. So when they discuss, it goes more or less the way it has been choreographed, the way it has been sequenced. And some background activity helps. So when, for instance, I think you know that India-US nuclear deal we did, right? And it was a big moment. I was involved in that. We came out of the meeting, said India's nuclear non-proliferation record has been recognized and all. Then the Americans came out and said India has been brought into the safety in the nuclear non-proliferation net. So each has a different takeaway and both can win. So it can be what we say is a stereotype thing, win-win. So each will give their own. And in today's modern world, because we have other ways of working, you will both come on the stage and say we have won, but privately you'll go and tell the press, I've got a little more and he's got a little less. So that's how the setup is.
Okay. Can this G20 platform be a forum to slip in this troublesome border disputes with China? Is it time? Is it a good time? Is it a good forum to start with, at least? Since we have placed this, in the US Senate about approving this on an international, recognize it on an international level. So can this be a platform for that, to slip in at least, or to bring in international attention?
I don't think that would be the intention. It's too complex an issue. And sometimes when you're not in a situation to get a good result, no need to hurry for the result which is not good enough. So I think these meetings, you must treat it as a continuing, ongoing process and dialogue. Sometime, but if you set deadlines, as you set in business or something else, I think you may go wrong. So what we will cheer is if they meet separately, during the course of the meeting, sit aside, have a few words, I think that's good enough.
Good morning, sir. My question is for Giti Sharma ji. It's regarding, I've heard in your introductory quoted by many professors that you are a learned person, knowing both the issues of Russia and Ukraine from the start in case of Russia. Also, you are a person who has learned about nuclear power and how it can be controlled. So my question is, how can India and India's presidency this year in 2023 be a platform to address the Russia-Ukraine conflict, according to you, sir?
Well, actually, I should say, in a way, I know Ukraine better. I was in Ukraine when it became independent in 91. But I also served in Russia and did work with Russia. And these are wars which come from a long history, And when you say India and Pakistan or India and China, so it's not something that is easy to deal with, with issues which are so emotional and, people have very strong positions, then it becomes difficult. As I was telling Manasa also there, that sometimes, if you try to rush too fast, you might get the wrong results. The problem with Russia-Ukraine or Ukraine-Russia, whichever way you say, was that others got involved, right? And they had their own agenda. The line I like to say is entirely preventable war. And, it's entirely preventable war. And others had their own agenda. So when did the war begin? You can't decide. Some would say, actually, many of us, I should mention here, see, frequently because we speak English, right? So we tend to depend on news which is in English. But if you read the Russian newspapers, it's entirely different. I read Russian. So the war begins probably in 2014 or something, when the Americans and others encouraged the change of government from a pro-Russian to a pro-West. So the Crimea followed. So even the start of the war, how it developed and acquired steam, is difficult to agree upon. So I think when you say about India, again, between now and the summit, everybody likes a successful summit. Yeah. So I think India is very well positioned. We have a line to Russia. We have a line to US. How many countries can boast of this? And gradually, step by step, we will try, and we understand the complex issues. But if there is nothing, even if they talk, that's good enough, I think. Hopefully this horrible war will end.
Good afternoon, sir. So my name is Rishita Naidu, and I'm currently pursuing my graduation second year in group of History, Economics and Political Science. So as a student of political science, I would like to know how could India has taken this G20 presidency, how could India project itself and sets an example of providing the accessible, inclusive and resilient growth to the rest of the G20 nations in this summit? I would like to find the answer for that accessible, inclusive and resilient growth that India projecting itself.
I think because India has resilient growth, right? In this COVID period, how many, or post-pandemic period, how many economies are doing well? Even the, the Chinese story, somewhere appears to have slowed down a bit, right? And I think countries which have been, extremely focused on exports, they have also had challenges. So as far as I was concerned, the dramatic changes in our digital space, the inclusivity, direct benefit transfers, I think economists had a story on this. One reason that India's governance has become efficient is targeted. You can actually send 100 rupees to a single person instantly. So how can So this is a miracle story. The Economist, which is known to be, when most of us in the world of diplomacy think it's anti-India, even they are forced to admit that the kind of successes, the UPI, look at the kind of tie-ups we're having across the world. So, as I said, when you're top, when you're the best, not best in Asia, but best in the world, people notice, and this is what they're saying. What is this? We kept thinking that you're lagging, but suddenly we find that you're growing at 7%, and the rest of the world 1%, 2%, or even negative. So I think this moment has come for India. And thanks to our inclusive, the COVID, pre-vaccines, where else, people were being charged in many countries. They were being charged. We were giving free vaccines to the rest of the world. That's inclusivity, right? People said India has this nationalist government, and they only think of India or Hindu and all. They're giving the only country giving vaccines to the rest of the world. Others were hoarding vaccines. Even if vaccines went past expiry date, because they were hoarding. What was Trump doing there? Yeah. By the way, when we say negotiators also, let me just tell you, one of the rare compliments Indian negotiators have got, you can find this on the internet. The world's best negotiators are from India, because he didn't get his way.
Good afternoon, sir. Myself, Akila. I am from Andhra University, Department of Political Science and Public Administration. My question is to Giti Sharma ji. Sir, how will India's presidency of G20 helps to create employment opportunities in India?
I think, please say. Yeah. I think by working together, coordinating, in the macro sense, as we're being asked, the conflict is hugely impacting on global economic prospects, the ongoing conflict. So if you're able to find solutions within the group of 20 most influential entities of the world, that will have a sobering effect, but that's still on the macro level. But if you look further down, the energy prices, when it comes down, again it'll, countries which are not able to afford certain kinds of economic, pursuing certain economic opportunities, yes, they might be able to pursue better. But you go further down, in terms of health, if you go to look in terms of skilling, yeah, the world is changing very rapidly around you, and you may think you're very good, but the job is not needed in 5 years' time. What do you do? And who has thought of all this? Indian presidency has drawn attention. Those kind of jobs are not there anymore, which were there some years back. So rather than being confronted with these situations, why not prepare skilling, upskilling, reskilling, retooling? So this is something in the digital space. What do you think we did when we passed out from school? There was a gap of 6 months, and my parents said, neighborhood, there's one little tent where they teach typing, job typing. You go and sit and hammer at a typewriter. Today, you don't need to learn typing. Each of you is a genius when it comes to handling a computer. So the nature of jobs, nature of kind of activities we do, that's all completely changed. So rather than being confronted with that, anticipating them and doing them. And individual countries also have their own dynamics. I think I mentioned that India, Australia has a mutual recognition of degrees. See, in many of the countries, what's happening is the populations are aging. They're aging. So where do they get nurses from? Many would actually source them, look after the old people, old age homes. They look for Indians, look for people with training. So it's not something, if you do it in an unscientific way, then you might miss those opportunities. But most governments today, they have some, here I think APA and RTS, Andhra Pradesh Non-Resident Telugu Societies, for instance, doing good work. Every state, the Government of India, Department of Skills, so they are doing a lot of things to not only anticipate, but provide for that kind of training, So you have to be employment ready and constantly be changing to adapt to new conditions.
So would you like to take more questions?
Thank you.
So my question is mostly related on the geopolitics of the present member states of the G20. So with Russia involving in a conflict with Ukraine, USA experiencing inflation, major Western power sanctions on Russia, internal security issues in India, aggressive expansion tendencies of China, how can we expect all the member nations to come together to formulate a single solution for global economic stability, even the global peace and security, without compromising the sovereignty of other countries?
I think in a way, in my speech it was there, you can't force solutions. That is the most dangerous. I think the First World War ended with the solution being forced on Germany. Hitler emerged after that, that we have been wronged. So G20s like out of the room discussions, as I try to say. You try to see, and when you say, it's easy to find where are the things we disagree. But if I tell what are the things we agree on, then starts a small discussion and debate. So those little contacts, those little discussion, and mind you, there will be a lot of hectic activity, before you actually reach September. I think, I don't know, I don't want to stick my neck out, but the Shanghai Cooperation Organization is in July meeting here. I'd find it difficult to say Putin will not come for that, because essentially Central Asia is Russia's backyard. So if he comes in, will he come in September and meet his Western people? Not unless, the other kinds of situations. So let's wait, patience is important, you can wait forever until you get the right solution. But if you get a wrong solution, you're stuck forever. So what is it you want?
With the 5 questions, so I know still you have a lot of questions, but we are heading towards the lunch. If we continue question answering, we have to go for the dinner. So I'll stop here. So apologies because we are running out of the time. Now I invite my student friend, Mr. Minna Rao, to continue the proceedings, announcement of student activities and competitions. We were told that, and you have seen, watched clippings also, the pre-events on various competitions, and this is the time for prizes, right? The winners have been waiting so patiently for a long time. So a big round of applause to all the winners. Now I hand over the program to Minna Rao.
Good afternoon, everyone. In the stream of poster making competition, and the first prize goes to A. Shravani, G. Durga, K. Chandrasekhar from DVS Krishna Government College. And I request our dignitaries to join this prize distribution. And this is the first prize poster making with a theme of technological transformation, digital and public infrastructure. I request everyone to give him a big round of applause. And second prize goes to T. Jansi, D. Swati, T. Subramanya Swami from AU College of Pharmaceutical Sciences.
Come from that side. Come from that side and
Go from this side. And the winners should come from that side and go from this side. And third prize goes to
S. Durga Prasad, P. Shravan Saranja, S. Ramanamurthy from AVN College. In the stream of essay writing competition, the first prize goes to S. Surya Deepak from Gayatri Vidya Parishad. Second prize goes to P. Koteshwar Rao from AU College of Arts and Commerce from MA English Department. Third prize goes to M. Sai Prasanna Lakshmi from AU College of Arts and Commerce from History Department. And we are giving 3 consolation prizes as the participation is high. And 4 goes to R. Prashanti from AVN College. Shihet Saini from AU College of Arts and Commerce from MA History. G. Harshita Rani from St. Anne's Degree College Women. And in the stream of declamation competition, first prize goes to K. Helsa from Sri Chaitanya College. Second prize goes to D. Harshita from Ambedkar College of Law and Andhra University. Third prize goes to A.R.R. Armaudan, Department of Economics, Andhra University. And 2 consolation prizes, B. Rishita Naidu from BVK Degree College. T. Saya Aditya from Bullaya College of Engineering. In the stream of elocution competition, first prize goes to Sunidhi Roy from St. Joseph College for Women. Second prize goes to Aparna Sindhuri from College of Engineering, Andhra University. Third prize goes to A. Bhavana from Gayatri Vidya Parishad. And 2 consolation prizes, SK Alumni from V.S. Krishna Government College. And Rashmita from Andhra University College of Pharmacy. Guys, please clap. I congratulate every winner and appreciate the spirit of participation. Thank you.
So, Thank you very much. Now it's our privilege and honor to honor the guests. I request the coordinator of this program, Dr. Veerraj Garu, to please felicitate our chief guest of the day, Gitesh Sharma ji, with the shawl and memento. And some special kits here.
And now we are going to felicitate our another chief guest, N. Sanjay, IPS CID Chief, Andhra Pradesh. And now we are going to felicitate A. Subramanya Raju, Dean, Pondicherry University. And Professor Sriram Murthy, former Principal, College of Arts and Commerce, Andhra University. And Professor K. Ravi, former Professor, Department of Political Science and Public Administration, Andhra University. And Ali Garu from RIS. And Professor Sriram Murthy sir from Andhra University.
Now, I request Dr. G. Veerraj Garu to pronounce vote of thanks to all the dignitaries. Then we will stand for national anthem and we will close.
Thank you everyone present over here and making this event a grand success. Thank you one and all.
This is a stand for national anthem. I acknowledge the presence of various dignitaries of the dais, HODs, principals and all the other dignitaries, especially Mrs. Gitesh Sharma ma'am. And we are so blessed to have all of you this morning to afternoon. And for all the registered candidates, lunch is waiting for you. So we will stand for national anthem. Please remove your hats and keep in hands. And we will stand in attention for national anthem.
गणमन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जनगण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे।
Thank you. I request the volunteers to open the gates at the end, and the dignitaries will move from my left and all the participants from the rear end.
Guys, please wait for 2 minutes. Please wait for another 2 minutes. Please, 2 minutes. కూపన్స్ ఉన్న వాళ్ళు ఫస్ట్ వెళ్ళండి. కూపన్స్ ఉన్న వాళ్ళు ఫస్ట్ వెళ్ళిపోండి. వాలంటీర్స్ కూపన్స్ చెక్ చేసి బయటికి పంపించండి. కూపన్స్ ఉన్న వాళ్ళు. లేదు మీకు విషయం తెలుసా? అలాగే చేయలేం అన్న, అప్పుడే క్రౌడ్ సార్ పట్టించుకోరా మన. గాయస్ 5 minutes తర్వాత అందరూ వెళ్ళొచ్చు. అంటే క్రౌడ్ కంట్రోల్ చేయడానికి అలా చెప్పాం కాబట్టి ఒక 5 minutes తర్వాత అందరూ వెళ్ళిపోండి ఫుడ్కి అని చెప్పేస్తాడు.
ఏది అవ్వదు. నేను చెప్తాను మొత్తం గిన్నె బయట